Okay, today we're going to talk about the PTR patch notes for Overwatch for January 4th, 2018. Because it was a very big patch, despite not containing that much in it, the effects of which are quite big. People are generally very happy about this patch. I can't possibly imagine why. So, anyway, let's start with Junkrat, as he is first on the list. Concussion Mine will now deal less damage to targets farther away from the explosion center. It's one of those changes that's just like, why was it not always this way? Why was it the only explosive effect in the game that didn't have fall-off damage? It's one of those very perplexing elements of the game, like how, Junkrat's wearing shorts, and he doesn't take any damage from his own explosions, but Pharah, who is wearing high-tech battle armor, kills herself all the time. It's very odd. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Those must be some very powerful shorts. So, does this make Junkrat more balanced? I mean, yeah, on like a strictly literal level it's a nerf, but I don't think it makes that much impact overall, because it still really fucks up Tracer, and it still really fucks up Genji. Tracer ends up having to use recall regardless. It can fall off to apparently 30 damage on the absolute lowest end, by the way. But like, Tracer taking any amount of damage usually prompts her to take recall, unless it's like 5 or 10 damage, yeah, but like, you're probably still gonna hit Tracer for at least a decent chunk, and she's gonna end up having to use recall, and then she's gonna have to be really passive. And that's only assuming you throw one charge at her, right? Genji, you're still gonna hit Genji pretty solidly. He's less mobile than Tracer, he's easier to hit than Tracer is. You're gonna hit Genji for a lot of the damage still. And it's going to make him play more passively, because it's probably still going to end up being half of his health, or close to. So, and it still just makes him way consistent, because it's still easier to throw a pizza at somebody's face and then click a button than it is to hit them with the actual bomb. It still makes him more consistent. So, yeah, like, it's a nerf on a strictly literal level, and it will have some impact, but I don't think it makes him that much worse, really. To be fair, I don't really have another suggestion for a nerf of Junkrat. Like, I think he rests so close to the border of being completely worthless or overpowered that I'm not really sure what else to do. I did see one change that was, I kind of liked the suggestion of, which was bombs that have spent more time rolling on the ground do less damage, because it's kind of annoying that a bomb that's been rolling on the ground for 3 days still does maximum damage. Yeah, that's really annoying. I understand that, so that's okay. Like, that seems good, but at the same time it might kinda take away from a little bit of Junkrat's point, so we'll see. It'll affect him somewhat, but I don't think it's going to affect him that much, really. So let's talk about why we're actually here, though, because Mercy was recently found dead in an alleyway with 37 stab wounds. It's a textbook Blizzard nerf, where, they attempted a couple of inconsequential nerfs that indeed affect things exactly 0%. And then they just went, fuck nuance. They went tink tink, fuck it, come in with the sledgehammer. Doctor, we might have to amputate the toe, it's a little infected. We'll just take the whole leg off, why even bother? It's very Blizzard of them. So, Valkyrie no longer makes Resurrect instant, and no longer grants a bonus charge of Resurrect. So Valkyrie and Resurrect just no longer interact with each other, basically. They're completely separated at this point. Because we tried resets the cooldown, we didn't like that, so we gave it a bonus charge, which meant you didn't have to go res alt res, you just could go alt res res, which is less awkward, and it also meant that if you didn't have a charge of Resurrect, it still had the same effect. It still effectively refreshed the cooldown, right? So it functionally didn't make much difference, except in a few situations, and made it a little bit easier to use. And then we're like, alright, we'll give it a cast time, and then Valkyrie removes the cast time, which I was okay with. I thought that was fine. But no, let's just completely separate the abilities. There's no point. Who cares? So, Resurrect's way worse now. It's much significantly narrowed use case now. It's very hard to res somebody in the middle of a team fight now, because not only do you have to go for the cast animation, if you're using Valkyrie, you've got a giant fucking target painted on your head as well, because you got these giant glowing moth wings coming off of you, and you're just standing there like, for a while. So, resing people in a team fight is a lot harder now. The other thing as well is that it did essentially mean you always could resurrect 2 people in a team fight. It was quite rare to only res one person, though it did happen. You still usually saw, both Mercies res 2 people. Because, weirdly enough, if somebody died, it was probably because a fight was going on, so Mercy might as well just go res, and then probably res somebody else over the 20-second duration. So, but now they just no longer interact with each other. So, res is, like, kinda not in the game anymore. I don't want res in the game anymore anyway, and now it is basically not in the game anymore because, its use case is significantly smaller now. Also, the speed boost that Guardian Angel receives in Valkyrie has been reduced by 50%, and the duration has been reduced from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. I wanted this from day one. I even wanted it to be like 12 seconds, make it the same as Molten Core. I thought that would have been fine. 20 seconds was so egregious. So it took 6 months, but we got there in the end. So, now, this does make Mercy worse, obviously. It's strictly a nerf, and Resurrect is significantly worse. Now, this does make it so that the issue with Mercy currently is if one team has a Mercy and the other team doesn't have a Mercy, the team that doesn't have a Mercy just has a statistically lower percentage chance of winning, because the other team just has to kill more people. Because Mercy is going to res at least one person, but probably 2 people in a team fight. So one team only has to kill 6 people, whereas the other team has to kill 8 people. That's a huge discrepancy. So it basically meant if one team had a Mercy, the other team had to have a Mercy, because otherwise the numbers discrepancy was too big. And it was also just like, why would you not just have a Mercy anyway? Like, bare minimum, one team still has to kill 2 more people, right? It's like, that's never bad, is it? So, that's gone. Huge discrepancy is not there. Here's the thing, though. I do have a more pessimistic view on this change than most people do. And the reason for that is people are expecting this to make Ana come back into the meta and make her good again, because Mercy made her so much worse by comparison. The problem is, Ana has her own problems to deal with still, right? Ana still has her own issues. Can't heal through shields. That's a big one. Her survivability is dependent on 2 very long cooldown abilities. That's a big deal. She is very weak to dive, which is a very big deal, of course, as well. Her ultimate is quite inconsistent because it's highly dependent on what your team comp is and the ult status of your other teammates. Ana has so many issues right now that I don't think Ana is any better for this change, really. Like, it doesn't make Ana any better, really, because Mercy is still fine. Right? Here's the thing. People are like, ding dong, the witch is dead, Mercy's gone. Like, here's the thing. I think initially, when this change comes to live, worth noting that this is on the PTR, so it's not on live yet, and when it comes to live, it might not be the same. But changes on the PTR very rarely receive any tweaks at all, so I'm expecting this to come through to live, basically as is. Maybe the numbers are changed around a little bit, but I don't think it'll be much different. So here's what I expect to happen. I expect immediately after the patch hits live, Mercy's use rate is going to tank for like a week. And then people are going to realize she's actually still fine, and then she's going to come back up again. And people are also going to realize the alternatives are not really any better. Because I still think Ana's bad. And here's the issue. Like, Moira can be a main healer. There's no reason she can't be. But people don't really view her that way. If people try to pick Moira as a main healer, they are usually accused of throwing, or basically just, like, e-bullied for it. It's happened to me. I've tried to pick Moira as a main healer. I've been like, it's fine. Moira can definitely be a main healer. Well, she's got a resource. She's so inconsistent. It's actually fine. As long as you aren't just holding down left click for absolutely no reason. She's not inconsistent. It's fine. She can be a main healer. But the majority of the community do not hold that opinion. Here, worth also remembering, Reddit does not equal the majority of the community, because people have this issue where they conflate Reddit's opinion with being the opinion of the community as a whole. Reddit is a minority of the community as a whole, so, like, even if Reddit's like, oh yeah, Moira could be a main healer, or Moira could be like, oh yeah, Mercy's trash now, Ana's good now, that doesn't necessarily reflect the community at large, because the majority of the community is extremely casual, actually. Anyway, so there's that. But, like, the majority of the community do not really seem to hold the opinion that Moira is a main healer. So that means that ultimately, for most people, your choices of main healer are still Ana and Mercy. And also, you do have to be, like, good at Moira to some extent. Otherwise, yeah, alright, that's going to be an issue. And Moira is quite hard to play. So, like, for the majority of the community, though, that means the main healer options are Ana and Mercy. Mercy's still better than Ana, dog. Like, Mercy still just does a lot of healing. She can heal through shields. She has a damage boost. She's very survivable because GA is good anyway. And her regen kicks in probably too fast, but she's actually quite survivable, as long as you aren't positioning in stupid places. And that's before you use Valkyrie. Because, like, don't forget, even though Valkyrie no longer interacts with Resurrect, Valkyrie is still 15 seconds during which it is extremely difficult to kill Mercy. Because, like, alright, GA, Mercy, lower speed. That's not why Mercy's hard to kill in Valkyrie, really. It's part of it, but the big thing is that her regen is constant, and she's hard to hit in the sky. And I think the ultimate effect is too flashy, and it obscures her actual hitbox. So I think it has the stealth benefit of making her harder to hit, even though it doesn't literally do that. It effectively does that by obfuscating her exact hitbox. So it's still 15 seconds of Mercy is extremely difficult to kill, and still basically requires an ultimate to kill. And during this time, she has an AoE healing and damage boost beam. That's still really strong. Like, that's still good, right? Even though it doesn't interact with Resurrect anymore, that by itself is still good. It's just not 10 out of 10 win the team fight good anymore. It's just like 7 out of 10, right? Like, it's still good. It's still better than Ana's ultimate, right? Because, like, if you're playing Ana, what you got? You got Soldier and Genji, and I hope they have their ultimates, or I'm gonna feel really bad about using this ultimate. Sometimes you ult Winston. Pretty rarely, though. And that's kinda it. Sometimes you ult Pharah or Reaper, but again, they have to have their ultimates, really. And, like, that's kinda it. I think it's actually time to give Ana's ultimate its speed boost back, because I think that makes the ultimate way more consistent, and I think her ultimate needs a degree of consistency for her to actually be good, because, right, like, having an ultimate that's dependent on both what your team comp is, and the ult status of said teammates, is not really very good. I don't know if you've noticed, but Overwatch is a game that is very heavily based around ultimates, so Ana having, like, a really bad ultimate, especially by support standards, like, she has, like, probably the worst ultimate of the supports. Maybe argue Sound Barrier is worse, but, like, she's got one of the worst ultimates of all the supports, on top of the other issues that she currently has. So I think you're gonna see Mercy's use rate tank immediately after the patch hits, but after, like, a week, people are gonna go, actually, Mercy's still good, and, like, Ana's not very good, actually, because, also, it's worth noting these changes don't happen in a vacuum, right? Part of the to me, the reason the pirate ship comp on Junkertown and the cheese comps on Horizon are so effective is because of Mercy. People point to Orisa or Bastion and the map, and, like, yeah, all of the, like, the map architecture itself, and yeah, these things play a part, but to me, the issue is Mercy. Because the way you beat these really heavy static defense teams that are based around Bastion and Torbjorn is you kill that one person. And then everything around them tends to fall apart immediately afterwards, because they're kind of based around that one thing. So if it falls apart, it tends to fall apart, you know? So the fact Mercy currently can just be like, ult, they are alive again. You killed them, which was difficult, now they are alive again, so you must do it again now. That makes it really difficult to deal with those comps. So the fact that Mercy's Resurrect is so much worse now makes those comps worse by extension. So that's good also, because I'm fucking tired of the pirate ship. I'm fucking tired of Horizon, right? Like, Junkertown and Horizon are terrible maps anyway. If we just get rid of them, that'd be great, but that's not gonna happen, so. But what you're gonna see Mercy's use rate tank, but then people are gonna go, she's actually still fine, and Ana's bad, so Mercy's win rate is gonna pick back up again at that point. I think you'll see less pirate ship, and you'll see less cheese comps on Horizon. And if you do see them, they will be less completely unstoppable and annoying. But other than that, I don't think this is actually going to make that much difference in the long run. I do still think this is a positive change, of course, because, well, I think you're going to see the same amount of Mercy use rate, maybe slightly lower, but I think you're still going to see roughly the same amount. Her impact is, of course, significantly lower now, and I don't think it's to the level where if one team has a Mercy, the other team has to have a Mercy now. Because Resurrect is so much worse. Resurrect is basically no longer in the game. It is literally still in the game, but, like, it's so much less good now. I do think that no longer makes Resurrect instant is overkill. I think you could have put these parts, this other part in, and that would be adequate. I think it's fine that the Resurrect being instant was still there. Because then, like, even if it just doesn't give a bonus charge anymore, you could use Resurrect, you could use Valkyrie and not use Resurrect sometimes, right? Like, sometimes the cooldowns will just not line up like that. And it's like, it's the only way you res somebody in a team fight. So I think res being instant would have still been fine, and I think the other changes would have been enough. But, hey, we got that one for good measure, so. But I think we need to buff Ana to actually see Mercy's play rate drop significantly for an extended period of time. Because I think over time it's going to come back up again when people realize, she's actually still fine. Valkyrie's actually still good. It's not just win the team fight good anymore. And we're not going to see another main healer anytime soon. Like, don't be expecting that. It's going to be at least a year before we see another one, maybe more. Because it's just kind of how these games are. And also worth noting that we've gotten 2 high healing output supports in a row, because we got Ana and then we got Moira. The next healer we get is likely to be an off healer. Or it might be a support that doesn't heal at all, because don't forget, Symmetra's still a support, apparently. So the next support we get might not even heal. So I don't think this makes any difference to Mercy's play rate overall. I think we need to buff Ana again before we see Mercy's play rate drop for an extended period of time. Or for the community as a whole's opinion on Moira to suddenly shift into being like, oh yeah, she can be a main healer. Which might happen. If we see less Mercies, Moira might see more play as a main healer, like, in pro play. And then that slowly has this trickle-down effect as well. So, maybe. We'll see, you know. Positive change overall. I'm glad the changes happened. I think the Resurrect not being instant is overkill. Better. Mercy's not, like, must pick probably anymore. I think you'll still see as much of her. Ana needs Ana needs buffing. She definitely doesn't need nerfing. Ana needs buffing to have a long-lasting effect. Junkrat, I think probably the same. I don't see a significant change coming from this. That, yeah, we'll see. Maybe not. So, let me know what you think. I would be interested to see what you think. Generally, the opinion I've seen online so far is Ding Dong, the witch is dead, thank God, Ana's the best now, yay, Mercy's gone. I don't really agree with that. I'm curious what your opinion is. Let me know. And, yeah, thank you very much for watching.